Welcome back to my channel, Sunshine Shoulders. I'm Calvin. Thank y'all so much for stopping by again today. The 3 levels to being broke in the Philippines. You know, there's a lot to be said about being broke over here in the Philippines, and it's never anything good. Most of the time, you're going to be ridiculed, you're going to be made fun of, but there's nothing funny about being broke over here. Probably the worst place in the world to be broke. And I just want to talk about the 3 levels. But let me stop here and say this. Nobody needs to tell you that you're broke. You know you're broke. And this may be a time where you need to swallow your pride and consider throwing in the towel and going back home. You know, don't be a burden on the system over here. Certainly don't be a burden on the young woman and her family. But I'm here in Cebu. I'm on my way to Manila, and I'm in the condo, and there's a 7-Eleven downstairs. And I got up this morning, went down there to get my coffee. And as I'm about to walk in the 7-Eleven, I look to my left, just out the corner of my eye, and I see a couple that's sitting on the curb. And I had to do a double take because it was a foreigner and a Filipina. I didn't think no more about it because a lot of foreigners live in this condo building. So I go in there, get my coffee, come out, and the lady starts running toward me like she knows me. Hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. And of course, she's in bad shape. She's in a bad way, looks to be on drugs. She's thin, she's gaunt, hair all over the place. And, I reached in my pocket and gave her a few, pesos. But it wasn't her who caught my attention, it was the man. Because while I'm sitting there interacting with the Filipina, he's sitting there like this. He's looking over his shoulder. He's looking at us to see how much money I'm going to give the woman. And it just flashed across my mind, how did he get himself in this situation? Because I honestly believe this is the first time I've ever seen a foreigner in that situation. I've seen the videos and everything, Rafi Tufo, and the people who do those videos on foreigners, carrying the signs and different things like that. But I never seen it up close and in person. And that's what made me talk about this. We did the video, not the video, but we did the live stream where we were talking about the pros and cons of dating a broke woman. But there's another side to that. The pros and cons of dating a broke man. But the first one I'm going to talk about, because there's 3 levels. There's broke, just a regular broke, flat broke, and dead broke. And I'm going to address the dead broke first, since this man was dead broke. When somebody over here is dead broke, they're in a crisis. This is the most severe case of being broke in the Philippines or anywhere. And don't get me wrong, all these 3 categories, these guys are going to be broke at home. So it has nothing to do with the Philippines, but we're 8,000 miles away from home. So I wanted to talk about that. But he's in a crisis. He's homeless. Probably has overstayed his visa. He has no return ticket back home. He's begging. More than likely, he's on drugs, he's an alcoholic, or he has some type of mental problems. This is the guy who really needs to pack it up and leave. You're going to know him because he's going to be on the street. He's going to be sleeping on the street. He's disheveled. This guy looked like his face hasn't seen a razor in forever. And you got to be real, real careful, because I was keeping my eye on him, not the woman, as I was pulling out my money to give her, a few coins. But yeah, he's dead broke. He's in debt. He has no credit, no savings, nothing. And not only is it the most severe, but he's the most stubborn, because there's something driving him. Because he's run out of money a long time ago to continue to stay in that situation. I have no sympathy for people like that. Okay? Because the reason I'm making the video is because you can't put all broke people in the same category, ladies and gentlemen. There's levels to this. But that's the one who's dead broke. But what about the guy who's flat broke, Cal? Well, this is the guy who we've convinced, and I say we because we're the ones doing the videos on how much it takes to live in the Philippines, but he's convinced he can come over here and live on $800 to $1,000 a month. But he finds out real soon that he can't do that. But how you know that he's flat broke, Cal? Because he never goes anywhere. And when you do see him somewhere, he's always in the same places that you saw him last time. He eats at the Carinderias. He can't afford to eat anywhere else. He's got a place because he's got that $800 to $1,000 coming in every month. But he's just existing over here. Another way you can tell him, he's by himself. He doesn't have a woman. Because remember, we said, well, we didn't say this, but there's a saying that a foreigner doesn't have a problem dealing with a broke Filipina, but a Filipina has a problem dealing with a broke foreigner. Always remember that. So he's always going to be by himself. His money usually runs out about the 10th of the month. So from the 10th to the end of the month, he's on fumes. He's living paycheck to paycheck over here. You know, I will say this. The Philippines is so appealing. You know, the women, the weather, you know, the good times, that we stake everything on just being here. And he's one of those guys. So he resorts to begging. Well, he won't say it's begging, borrowing from other expats. Be careful, guys, lending money over here. Or even scamming at other expats. Or trying to work under the table. He may or may not be behind on his visa fees. You never know, because he's going to lie. You know, men lie about their financial situation. He has no return trip home. But he's not as bad as the dead broke guy. But he's flat broke. So what about the last one I'm going to talk about? The broke, just the regular broke guy who probably could live a decent life over here, but for the most part, he's giving it all to the woman. He's got a woman. He's got a decent place. He's got enough money to make it from month to month, but there's nothing special about his life in the Philippines. He doesn't get to enjoy the best of the Philippines because he's giving it all the way to the woman. He's put her needs in front of his. So there's no Boracay. There's no exciting nightlife. There's nothing like that. But he's the one who puts on the front. He wants you to believe that he's living better than he really is. But he's broke. You know, he may have a credit card or two. He's got a little savings. He's up on his visa. Okay, he's not behind on that. And he probably can get a return trip home. But he would be broke at home. A lot of these guys, they didn't work enough time and put enough into the system. They just don't have enough money to be over here. They certainly don't have the discipline with their finances to be over here. So they're broke. But his problem is he's giving it all away to the woman. These are the guys who lose their life savings. It's usually not any fault of their own. Well, I guess it would be his fault if he gives it to. But that's usually some circumstance behind it, because don't get me wrong, we're all one emergency away from a financial catastrophe. Most of us are. But certainly if you're broke, you may have to swallow your pride, guys. You may have to consider throwing in the towel and going back home. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you find yourself in that situation, consider that. Okay? So thank y'all so much for stopping by. It's a beautiful Friday here. Still Thanksgiving in America. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody that celebrates that over there. I know all my friends don't celebrate holidays and stuff like that. Somebody sent me a message. They said, make sure you turn your scales back 15 pounds Wednesday night. I got a kick out of that. That was funny. But if you're in America, if you're in the Philippines, wherever you are, find your heart to help somebody. Not a day goes by that I don't help somebody. Because if I don't know anything else, I know this one thing for sure. When we help other people, we help ourselves. Take care. Stay safe. Stay out of trouble. I'll see you next time. And don't do anything stupid. If you're going to be broke and you want to come to the Philippines, come here on a temporary basis. Don't try to live here. There's a lot of ways that you can enjoy this place besides being broke over here. There's nothing funny about being broke. We make light of it. I could have easily said, hey, man, I'll give you a few hundred pesos, maybe even 500 pesos. Let me introduce you. What's your story? But I would never do that. I would never put a broke person on my channel like that. I don't need views that bad. But they're over here, and I want you to be able to recognize them, because when you deal with broke people, guys, they can drain you. They'll bring you down. They're dangerous, and they'll make you broke. It's just that simple. I don't hang around with broke people. It doesn't mean I'm better than broke people, but I just don't want to hang around anybody that's always got their hand out, always needing some help. But you know, the 4 words that every man uses to push back on anything I say: I'm a grown man. And those 4 words can get you into a lot of trouble over here. Don't come over here and be a burden on the system, man. Don't come over here and be a burden on this young woman and her family. They've got enough problems. If you got a drug or alcohol problem or mental health problem, man, seek some professional help. But if you're just over here and you're being ornery and you're being broke, man, I don't have no sympathy for you.
Boots on the ground, don't do nothing stupid. Give that man his flowers, a tribute through music. If I don't know nothing, I know one thing.